Hello everybody, and welcome to the Line of Sight YouTube channel. This is probably some of y'all's first time here, because this is us just kind of starting out playing around with the idea of doing some kind of short little video discussion type things. Mix it up a little bit, do a little bit more visual medium stuff, which, I've got the setup for, so I may as well use it. Through this, we're going to be able to kind of talk about a lot of different topics, a lot of little kind of shorter things that we're not going to want to spend, those big, long, kind of hour-long things on the podcast, as well as if there's any other video stuff that I want to do, we can kind of throw it in there. So for kind of our first experiment, we decided, or at least I decided, since I'm the one in charge here now, that I'm going to throw myself a little bit of a softball. I'm going to talk today a little bit about my very favorite caster in Warmahordes, which is, of course, Thyra, Flame of Sorrow. So, Thyra is a really interesting caster in that she is a Protectorate of Menoth caster who plays a kind of a game plan that is very different from what you would typically see within Protectorate. That's one thing that I find is really interesting about her. She really changes up the playstyle that they are kind of more known for, in that Protectorate is a very defensive faction. They're very kind of designed around being able to sort of take a hit and counterpunch, and Thyra can definitely do that just by nature of the kind of models that she can bring with her. She still takes Protectorate models, but she is a little bit different. She's a little more proactive, and she has a much more fast, speedy, ninja getting things done kind of a style that I really, really like. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to the War Machine University page, and we're going to kind of go down the list of kind of everything that she does, not necessarily in the order it's on the page, but we're going to talk a little bit about the things that she does and why it is that I like her so much. Plus what you can kind of do with her on the tabletop. So, Thyra is a Protectorate of Menoth warcaster. Protectorate Daughter of the Flame warcaster, which is a recent addition to her as well, and it's very, very important to a lot of aspects of exactly how she functions. Thyra is a member of the Daughters of the Flame, one of the kind of sub-factions, I guess you could say, within the Protectorate, and this is largely attached to the theme Guardians of the Temple. That said, that's not the only way she can play, but that is kind of her home, I think, right now, given a lot of the changes that were made to her. Let's go down and look a little bit about what she does. We'll talk about her feat in a couple of minutes, but let's talk about her actual abilities. So Thyra has Parry, which works very, very well alongside Acrobatics, and her base speed of 7. She's very, very quick. She can move through models. She effectively ignores the existence of your models and enemy models if she chooses to, as far as movement, charging, a lot of that kind of stuff, which is absolutely fantastic. It lets her be very, very active and very, very difficult to screen. Like, it's hard to kind of stop her from getting through and doing the thing that she wants to do. She also has Stealth, which is fantastic. Stealth is... Generally, people don't bring Stealth outs into Protectorate. Realistically, gun lines don't work well into Protectorate a lot of the time anyway, but this kind of gives a slightly different out for guns, which is actually part of her design, and you'll see it in her spell list as well. She has a number of interesting abilities that are attached to Daughters of the Flame specifically. She has Blend In. This is one of the most powerful rules, I think, probably in War Machine, and it was very recently added. What I thought was interesting about this rule, as we saw it added, is that it is a keyworded rule, meaning it is a rule that then has the brackets and then a unit type. This means that this is a rule that we could see in other places in the future. It's not like a unique, kind of specially worded rule to her. It seems to be, it's something that they're working on. Maybe we'll see it in Orgoth or something. Blend In Daughters of the Flame says that this model cannot be targeted by attacks, charges, or slam power attacks while there are one or more friendly Daughters of the Flame models within 3 inches of it. Now, what this means is that she is incredibly difficult to kill as long as she has other Daughters of the Flame nearby. Now, Daughters of the Flame includes, obviously, Nisia, who is an amazing, fun solo who can be quite difficult to kill if you don't have the right tools, and Daughters of the Flame, of course, the actual unit Daughters of the Flame. And then recently, Flamebringers were also added to be given the Daughters of the Flame keyword. This means that there's an enormous number of units you can put on the table that are also quite cheap and very mobile and effective, and can keep up with Thyra very, very well. And they can basically surround and protect her. And I've had that come up in some pretty interesting circumstances where she really had no business not being assassinated, but, well, you can't target her, so you need to be able to try to get around it with things. Now, that's not to say that she's invulnerable. She can be definitely struck by kind of direct attacks. This is things like Electroleap, Ashes to Ashes, Chain Lightning, things like that. A lot of things that you see within Signar, but there's a few factions that have access to this stuff. She can also be hit by sprays that are targeting a different model. Really, anybody in Protectorate should be pretty well versed with not being targetable and kind of the ways to get around that, just due to the nature of Warjacks and the Choir, who often make models untargetable. So you do have to kind of watch out. Very high value sprays. At the end of the day, her armor is still very, very low. She does get blast resistance from Nisia, which means that blast damage is not going to be a super good way to do it unless you can take out Nisia, which one good shot will do it as long as it hits a lot of the time, but she does have stealth and she can be kind of annoying to get rid of. So there were ways around this. Sheer like high volume of attacks. I mean, you can get through the Daughters of the Flame. They're not terribly difficult to kill, but she can bring a lot of them, and Blend In is a very powerful rule that affects her playstyle quite a bit, and it lets her be incredibly aggressive if she feels like you can't deal with it. The other thing she has is Elite Cadre for Daughters of the Flame. For a long time, this wasn't really used a whole lot because Daughters of the Flame were not super interesting, but with a cost reduction and the addition of Repo 5, they got into a very, very good spot. But the other thing is that Flamebringers gained the Daughters of the Flame tag. This means that Flamebringers, a very, very fast and very effective unit, got access to Vengeance. This is a very big deal. This makes it so that plinking off or trying to damage Flamebringers on the approach is very, very dangerous because they go quite far, especially with Thyra. They can go a really enormous distance, and they can put the hurt on things with the options that Thyra has available to her. She also has the innate ability, this used to be an upkeep, but she has the innate ability Gates of Death, one of the strongest repositioning mechanics in the entire game. At the end of your turn, place this model anywhere completely within 5 inches of its current location. The thing about this is that this is very distinctly different from something like Reposition 5 because it happens at the end of your turn, and Thyra has some particular ways to kind of interact with this that makes it very, very good. A lot of the time this kind of thing wouldn't really matter that much, but due to one of the spells on her spell list, Carnage, her being in a very aggressive position is actually a very big deal for her. And a lot of casters that have things like Carnage or Insight or things like that have a tendency to kind of be forced to be very far up the field in order to get the most out of those abilities, whereas she can do it extremely safely between Gates of Death and Blend In Daughters of the Flame, and then things like Stealth, and her just generally very, very high defense, which is 17, which is quite good. She can be very difficult to actually just get a bead on and actually get that attack and get those attacks kind of put into her, which is fantastic. It gives her that very kind of ninja, very fast, sneaky assassin kind of a feel that is very much what they were going for with this model. She also has Overtake, which is just always amazing. One of her big weaknesses is that she only has a half-inch melee range. This allows her to blend through a few troops of infantry. I've had her actually really kill a lot of troops in one go before because she's quite accurate as well. So Overtake is very, very good, and it synergizes very well with Synergistic Magic. Synergistic Magic says when she destroys an enemy model with an attack, she gains a power token. These power tokens can be used kind of like Focus, specifically to interact with upkeeps. She can cast upkeeps or upkeep her upkeep spells using the Synergistic Magic power tokens. Now, a really important thing to note, and we're going to bring this up in a minute, but she does have a little bit of, we call it Scornergy, but anti-synergy, I guess, within her kit that you do have to kind of be aware of in regards to Synergistic Magic, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Her weapons are Grief and Lament, which continues a theme in Protectorate that I absolutely love the names of Protectorate Warcaster weapons. They have a tendency to be absolutely amazing. People from a long time ago may have known about the website that I had run for a little while doing Protectorate article series called Truth and Consequence, which was the name of Fiora 1's weapons, I believe. They have a lot of just really amazing names, and I love them. But they are both half-inch melee, power strength 11, magical weapon master blades. This can go in combination with some other things she has, but at the end of the day, she is a Mat 8 PS 11 weapon master with 2 attacks. And in Protectorate, she often has access to about 7 focus, due to things like the Hierophant reducing the cost of her spells, but also a rack. She can get a lot of work done, especially since she does have damage buffs within her spell kit. Let's talk about her spells a little bit. So the thing that I particularly love about Thyra, and the spell list is kind of 2 parts of the sort of the triumvirate of wonderful things about this caster, is that she is incredibly proactive, and she kind of has an answer, some degree of answer, to just about every situation you could find yourself in. She accuracy buffs your entire army using Carnage. Carnage is one of her spells that is cost 2, covers her control area, which she is a focus 6 caster, so it's a 12-inch area. And friendly faction models get +2 to melee attack rolls against enemy models in her control range. Now, due to Gates of Death, her ability to teleport away, she can place this extremely aggressively. She can be in the middle of your army a lot of the time and probably be pretty safe doing it, meaning that her army is pretty much just going to be +2 mat. If you think about the fact that Protectorate also has very accurate models to begin with, she can crank mat values to extremely high amounts. Even herself, for the cost of 2 focus, she becomes mat 10, which is incredibly high and is very dangerous to warcasters. This is hitting most warcasters on between a 4 and a 6. Which is, she will kill your caster if she gets to them a lot of the time, unless they are very resilient. So Carnage is just a really amazing accuracy amp, so that is her fix for accuracy. The other thing that we all really enjoy is not getting shot at, and she has Occultation. Now, I make a joke occasionally that casters with Occultation always feel like they were designed assuming Occultation is on themselves, so they often don't give them stealth. She has Occultation and innate stealth. It's fantastic. Having access to Occultation is great. Many things that are relying heavily on guns do definitely bring a lot of outs for stealth at this point. So Occultation isn't going to save you against like true gun lines a lot of the time these days, but against armies that just have some happenstance guns or to kind of increase their flexibility, it reduces the opponent's flexibility quite a bit because they usually don't they usually don't put the points into trying to get outs for stealth and things like that all that often. The other thing that she has is a way to increase damage. It is not super common for casters to have both a very good accuracy buff and a very good damage buff, and casters that do are usually in a pretty good position. And she has Silence of Death, which is a very, very good one, but this is where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the awkwardness with her synergistic magic. So Silence of Death gives friendly faction model / unit +2 strength, and takedown. This is a 2-cost range 6 upkeep. Put it on friendly faction model / unit. Takedown is a non-optional rule that basically says that if you are disabled by a melee attack made with takedown, you do not get a tough roll and you are removed from play. The problem with this is that synergistic magic relies on destroyed. So if you want to have Silence of Death on Thyra herself, she is no longer able to get synergistic magic tokens from her own melee weapons. Because takedown is not an option for her. I have played this wrong before, just in casual games, and we noticed afterward and went, oh, that's actually kind of a big deal. So that's something to account for. You just need to remember that, because another thing is that she can't overtake if she does takedown as well. So she has a couple of kind of anti-synergies within Silence of Death itself. That said, it's a very good spell. +2 strength on things like Flamebringers is absolutely incredible, and they can still do things like Sidestep, because Sidestep just requires a hit. It does not require destroying a model or anything like that. They really, really like the +2 strength for their little Weapon Master Blades. Takedown is also just very, very good. You're handling recursion, which I actually think there are some forms of recursion that after the most recent update may become a little bit more common than usual. And on top of that, just access to a tough out. It's very, very good. It's just inbuilt into the caster. It's hard to get around the fact that that's just a fantastic option to have. The other thing that she has is Stranglehold. Now, one of the issues that she had before was that she often had a very hard time casting Stranglehold. Stranglehold, for anybody who doesn't know, is among the best nukes in the game. It is an incredibly strong little 2-cost nuke. It's range 10, which is great. POW 11, which is a little low. But a model damaged by it has to forfeit either its movement or its combat action. Now, this did get to where it is no longer affecting Colossals and Gargantuans, which is a pretty big deal because this spell was frankly overpowered into those. But one of the issues she had was she often didn't have enough focus to really reliably do Strangleholds. With access to synergistic magic now, and if she is getting those power tokens, she can cast Stranglehold easily. And Stranglehold is one of those spells that can kind of change games. You're shutting down enemy heavies a lot of the time. You're greatly reducing threat ranges on enemies. Very, very effective ability. Very, very strong. So, why is it that I like Thyra so much? Let's go up to her feat, actually, before we kind of dig into that. Her feat is called Shadows of Arcane. It has 2 effects. One of them is that she immediately teleports 2 inches herself. The next part is that whenever a friendly faction model activates in her control range, at the start of its activation, it also teleports 2 inches. It essentially kind of acts like apparition, but at the start of your activation. You can also kind of use it in some funky ways with her because it happens right when you feat as far as her teleport. So you can do things like charge, kill something, overtake, feat, teleport 2 more inches, things like that. So she can, if a caster is kind of positioned wrong, she'll jump on you. But it gives her a very, very good threat range. It's also just amazing on really anything. This feat has a lot of different functions. A lot of the time it kind of plays out as just being a threat extension. Hey, an extra 2 inches of movement, like, I'll take it. It combines very, very well with Blood of Martyrs as well, who gets Apparition with her, meaning he essentially has a 4-inch teleport before he activates, which gives him quite a distance of threat. But there's a lot of other little things you can get out of this. This is being able to slip into enemy models' back arcs while they were engaging you, or just disengage yourself entirely to be able to do other things. Just a 2-inch place effect like that, it's just very good. There's a lot of things you can do with that, and it kind of comes down to your creativity as far as like how that's going to function for you. If you don't need it as a threat extension, this is one of those feats that holding on to it for a long time can make it so that enemy casters have to be extremely nervous. It's difficult to have to play around all the time, especially once the fight has actually met in the middle. So what is it that I like about Thyra so much? Why do I enjoy this caster? So for one thing, she is extremely flexible. She has an enormous number of different options available to her, in that you have a tough out, a damage buff, an accuracy buff, stealth, a threat extension, a lot of personal output on your caster. She has a ton of options available to her. She's a very proactive caster. Even prior to the update, I always really, really enjoyed her because she just kind of allowed you so much choice in a way that a lot of Protectorate casters don't. She also has a very good defensive stat line at 1714. That's pretty strong, especially if you can give her some kind of like some kind of steady, something like that, maybe using the book or other things, whatever you've got. There are a few different options available for that. But this on top of Blend In just makes her incredibly difficult to kill, meaning this is one of the most forward-moving super solo casters in the entire game. She is able to be in front of your army oftentimes, and there's a little bit of a trick. It's not to say that it's completely brainless. Like, you do have to make sure that you're aware of what tools your opponent has, and whether or not they're going to be able to get through the nearby Daughters of the Flame for that you're using for Blend In. But a couple of interesting little tricks with that is, for one thing, Blend In does not require the enemy to be able to see the model that you're blending in with. If if Nisia is sitting behind a building but still within 3 inches of Thyra, Thyra isn't targetable, and if they can't figure out a way to deal with Nisia, you just can't target Thyra with things. It can be a pretty gnarly ability, but it does reward you better the better your positioning, which, as somebody who really enjoys the positioning kind of aspect of War Machine, I just really enjoy about this caster. I also like her theming. I think she's just very cool. She's just a very cool character. The Daughters of the Flame have a lot of kind of interesting lore associated with them, and I just find her whole style to be very much kind of, it gels with me a lot, and I played her an enormous amount in early Mark III, and I'm having a really good time playing her now. So let me know if you guys have had any fun tech or interesting games or anything like that with Thyra. I think she's just an absolutely fantastic caster. If you like her, you don't like her, whatever, comment, let us know, and also let us know what you think about some of this format, or if you got any other ideas for things that you kind of want us to talk about or try out, let us know. I am happy to sit in front of a camera and talk to you about War Machine or other topics all the time. It's very good time to do, and I got all this cool stuff for doing it. Anyway, thanks so much for sitting with me for a little while to talk about my favorite caster. We'll probably talk about something a little spicier in the future, but I just wanted to sit and have a good time chatting about Thyra for a little bit, because she's great. Thanks so much for sitting with me, everybody. Go ahead, check out our Patreon, los.com/ no, that's completely wrong. It's patreon.com/loswarmachine. This is how we talk. I also go to our website, which is loswarmachine.com. You can see all of the wonderful podcasts, things like that we got on there. Also, big thanks to everybody who supports us on Facebook. Everywhere. You guys are all amazing. We'll see you next time.